Adam, do you know how you create your belief that you can do this? Because it's not just you believe in it, but you got to go to mom, dad, uncle, aunt, brothers, friends, and say, hey, not only do I believe in it, but you need to put your money. How do you stay have the conviction to believe that you're right about this thing that you've identified as the next thing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um,
Yeah.
I do have a mindset. I have a philosophy and a mindset. It starts with the time on earth is the most precious thing. It is short, and my goal is to maximize, and everyone's goal should be to maximize this beautiful gift we have just to be here.
I
And
love
the
that.
question is, how do you do that? Right? And sometimes maximize the moment we have on this earth. Sometimes it's about money. Sometimes you need to make money. Sometimes that's not what's the most important thing. If you don't have money, that becomes really important. If you don't have enough. But if you have enough, sometimes you need to say, this is what's important. I need to be more creative in my work. That it's a burning desire. At one time I wanted to fall in love. Could I feel love? Is it real? That became an important question for me to answer. So at each phase in my life, I try to stay true on what's important, authentic to myself. I make a goal, and then I tell everyone I meet, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to do X. And by using the words, by starting with a core truth for yourself, this is what I need at this moment of my life to maximize my time here on earth. You put this out in words, and you tell everyone you meet, I'm going to do this, even if you have no idea how to do it.
Yeah.
And I believe the power of confidently asserting, I will achieve. And you have to verbally say it to people. And by telling people, even if internally you have doubt, you start to believe it, they start to believe it, and it's cyclical. And then it comes true. You're like, man, this worked. Let me do it again. What's the next most important thing I need to do now? So that's part of my process, my mindset, and how I convince myself, how I convince others. But it starts with finding out what is truly core for you at this point. What is it really about? Not what they're telling you, what society says, what your mom says. What do you need? And then I'm going to get it. I'm going to do it. And then there's this, people start to help you. People start to believe.
You talked earlier when you came on about, everybody going in one direction, like a trend becomes this, everybody's doing it. We're every day we're hearing about AI. Is it too late there? Is it everybody's already doing it? What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So we always have there's always these little technical trends that pop up. Is NFT the big thing? Is whatever, Bitcoin, crypto, whatever it's going to be, blockchain. Right now, something has happened in the last 4 months that I think will be as important as the web and as important as the smartphone. And again, as part of my predictions, I literally 10 years ago gave a date. I said between 2020 and 2022, a conversational assistant is going to emerge that will become as foundational for every consumer and every business as the web or mobile. And I had a reason for it. If you look at the trends, I call it, I know you have 10X as a watch phrase. I use the phrase 10 plus. I say every 10 plus years, something big changes. So in 1984, roughly, the mouse and the GUI came out, and we had graphical interfaces, and the PC landed on everyone's desk, and everyone had to learn what is a computer. 10 plus, so 11 years later, roughly, the web comes out, and now we can compute with data on other people's computers, but we had to learn web browsers, etc. 10 plus, meaning now 12 years later, around 2007, 2008, smartphone emerges. So I'm like 10 plus, so this time 13, because it's slightly slower, a new paradigm will emerge. So around 2021, and I said it will be a conversational assistant. And I started companies to kind of help make that come true. uh, 4 months ago, something called ChatGPT arrived. I had been waiting for it, watching it, talking with researchers for 5 years, and reading the papers. I understand the technology. I've seen the applications. It still melted my mind. And even though I had predicted it, was waiting for it, was watching it evolve, it's important. So that's this first thing, is that I believe what just happened 4 months ago is akin to the internet and the web showing up.
Wow.
And I believe the next 10 years, 10 plus years, so next 13 years, will be dominated by figuring out what this means and how to use it, especially in business. So when the web came out, remember those crusty old web pages that were coming? There were people like Jeff Bezos who said, this internet thing, I'm going to try selling books. Well, it worked out pretty well for him, right? And people were trying to figure out, it evolved and figure out, how do I play? What does this do for me? How do I use it? What can it do? What does it do? It was a huge value creation for society during this time. I believe, and literally what happened 4 months ago, so November 30th, with the release of ChatGPT, it's going to define our next 10 years. I believe businesses who embrace it early are going to have a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely something.
So let's talk about
think is important.
Yeah. How does ChatGPT, let's say, affect the person that works for a company, both in their job providing value for that company and or in their free time working from home to produce additional income? How would they use that today?
So what I would first, maybe not everyone is familiar with it. It's the fastest adopted technology in history. So they got their first 1 million users in 5 days, and they got their first 100 million users in less than 2 months. If you put it up against any other technology in the world, nothing comes close. Nothing comes close. But there's still a lot of people out there who don't know what it is and how to use it.
Yeah.
First, let's say what is now ChatGPT's a product by a company called OpenAI, but there are many of them.
Right.
Google has something called Bard, et
There's
cetera.
video AI, there's audio AI,
right. Right. So there's a class of them, but at its core, it's like a text box you can type to. You can ask a question. You can paste in text.
I play with it every day, man.
And it will come out and give you an answer. So for those who don't know what it is, so you're like, okay, it's a text messaging thing, a chatbot. How would I use it? For business, at home, for anything. Well, what's different about ChatGPT is, one, it has an enormous amount of knowledge. They've trained this thing on massive amounts of text. And the thing that shocked me, even though I'm in the field and helped define the field, is its level of understanding like a human would what it's learned. When it responds, it's not just spitting out pretty words. It really seems to understand the nuance of what you're asking and to consider that, and it knows how the world works, which is different than any software I've ever seen before. So that's kind of what it is and why it's shocking, even to an AI expert like myself. So how can it be used? I would say, how do you use a computer in your business? So many different ways. You're going to send emails. You're going to write marketing campaigns. You're going to have databases of people for leads. You're going to, everything that you do with a computer, I think, can be accelerated with this technology. If you're a businessman, you need a strategy. You need a business name. You need to put together, what idea are you going to work on? How are you going to execute? What's your plan? How do you manage your finances? How do you recruit customers? How do you hire employees? I believe this technology will 10x, to use your piece, or more, everything that you do. And I have a friend, Mike, who is just starting a business. He's an incredible guy. He's got unique skills, but he's never started his own business before. I said, have you heard of this thing called ChatGPT? Because he was asking me questions. I don't know, what's a business plan? How do I write a business plan? How do I put together a pitch deck? I go, let's bring this up. I typed, help me write a business plan for a business that is, and then I described his idea. Boom. He was like, oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah.
He goes, well, should I use an LLC or an S corporation and why?
Boom.
I typed it in. It gave a reasoned, balanced answer. He's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He goes, what should I call this business? Give me 30 new names for this brand new business. Here are 30 names.
Yeah.
Design a logo for me. He started going, I want to have a space. He goes, what colors are most appealing to the target audience I'm looking for? He was starting to use this for every piece. And now it's important to know it's not always right. So let's get into the technology.
But it gets you thinking. It gets you thinking.
But as a brainstorming tool,
So
it is phenomenal.
So Adam, and I've been playing with it, right? So I'm aware of how important it is to understand how to ask the right questions. So when you think about people, a lot of the people watching right now are thinking about starting a business. Maybe they have a startup, or maybe they're working from some other place, and they're trying to figure out how to add more value with the job they're at. When you're telling Mike, your friend, about a business, if Mike would ask you, hey, what's more important, marketing or sales? What would you tell Mike if he wasn't going to ask ChatGPT and he's going to ask you?
For me, you're the business guy. I'm the tech guy. So you'd have a better understanding of it. I would say it depends on what phase of your business it is, right? In my view, first you need to get a product. You need something that's going to offer value. Then you need to be able to let people know this product exists, right? And so that's got to be marketing. You need to spread the message of what is it, when do I use it, why is it better? But then if you're spending money to market and you can't convert, you can't monetize,
right?
You're hosed, because you're and you have to make sure that every person who comes in isn't costing you more than you're making, right? You can shoot yourself in the foot by marketing like crazy, bringing them in. They're using this service, which takes server time or whatever resources or assets you have. If you're not monetizing at that right phase, you're digging a ditch.
And then in line with that, where would you put financial intelligence?
It's essential, right? And I caught some of the end of what you were talking about. You need to be able to manage your books. You need to know where can you take your risks and what risks are you taking? Where can you, when to borrow money if you need to, but you need to know what that's going to bring back and when, right? So being able to have that experience, I think, is essential. Things like ChatGPT can even help you in these ways, but I'd love to at some point talk about some of the failings, some of the cautions of the AI. So for me,
of AI, are you worried about it? I know Elon's worried about it.
Well, let me. There's are we worried about it on a big scale? Like, is it going to take over the world?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that in a bit. But I just want to.
What?
He said, let's talk about that one in a minute.
Okay. In a minute. Well, we'll talk about whether.
Let me just say this. First of all, I didn't know. Like when you just said to me, Grant, I'll leave the business stuff up to you. I'm really a tech guy. You don't present like that. You present very much like a very comfortable marketing, sales. Like you're the perfect sales robot. Like you would be the perfect because you're very. I look like a sales guy. I'm mocked up like I'm coming after you. Like you have this very comfortable appearance. Like like you raising money, you talking to your friends about, hey, put some money in, the guy giving you $100,000, and nobody would do that with me, you know. So like when you said, hey, I'm not the business guy, I'm the tech guy. You really do very comfortable, easy to talk to, you know. I see you as a sales and marketing guy, like a much better version than myself.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. I'm not sure
Yeah, no,
it is.
it
I
is.
prefer. I often say, and this might be useful for your entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah.
I say there are 4 skills that are required to start a business in a founding team, and it doesn't mean you need 4 people. One person can have multiple skills, but for me, these are the 4 skills you need. Number 1, you need a visionary. You need someone who can think big, see the long, big picture, right? Who knows why we're doing it, where we're going. You need a visionary. You need a marketeer. You need someone to spread that message, right? Who can communicate to investors, to customers,
Is that
to
a separate
potential employees you
That's
might
a
hire.
separate category?
It's a separate skill.
Yeah,
Could be the
got it.
same person, but not every visionary is a great communicator.
Right, got it.
Right? Not every communicator knows the vision. So
Right,
vision,
right.
communication or marketing,
Yeah.
marketeer.
Yeah.
You need a product person who can say, yeah, that's a great long-term vision, but we need to break this down into steps. What
Yeah.
are we doing first? Where are we trying to get to first? What are we doing second and why? And there's a lot of prioritization. Like it's a different skill to have, someday we'll talk to computers and we'll do everything. Okay, good.
Operations
What's
guy.
step 1? What's step 1?
Yeah.
And then for me, the 4th skill is the builder. The person take the roadmap from the product person and say, I will execute and deliver this on time and on budget. And so when you should figure out which ones are you good at, which ones are you great at, and you need to surround yourself, be looking for the complementary skill set in your founding team. So I'm pretty good on the marketing side. At Siri, our CEO was better than me. He could sell a story and he believed it and he could communicate it beautifully. I'm pretty good at it. He was better. I think I'm pretty good at having the vision, knowing what we should go after. And I'm pretty good at building that first version prototype that I can say, let me not just tell you this, let me show it to you. You can poke at it and try. It's not the finished version, but here it is. And with those 2 things, I can lead an engineering team to get the real version built and scaled for millions of people, right? So that's my skill set. I'm not the best product person who breaks down every step. So I see myself as visionary, builder to a point, and able to lead the building team. And I'm pretty good on the marketing.
And where do you see the finances working into those 4? The visionary, marketeer, product, and builder. Where would you see finances? Who's responsible for that?
That's an essential component. Maybe it's actually a 5th piece. But for me, the core of the founding team, you have to know what you're going to build, why, how you're going to get there, and you need a team who can deliver it. And on top of that, yes, you need operations, you need finance, you need some legal, you need a bunch of people who are really watching, making sure that you're doing the right things in these areas. But the core value of the idea, like, should you build this new real estate community that's going to do that? For me, that's the core of the business. Maybe but you need the finances, you need these things, but that's the core of starting a business, the core founding team. You have to know what you want to build, why, where it's going, how you're going to get there, and you need a team who can say, I can deliver this.
Man, this has been great, Adam. Let me ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. How important is sales to you, in your mind?
Again, if you look at the companies I've done, I've largely focused on the vision and the technology. So I'm not the sales guy. That was Doug, our CEO. And I sold my business to Apple and then let them do the selling. I sold a business to Samsung. I'm probably the only entrepreneur who sold pretty much the same vision to both Apple and Samsung and got them Siri's on more than 2 billion devices. My AI for Samsung is on 400 million devices. But I didn't do the sales, right?
But you
It wasn't
sold
a
it. You
small
sold it.
business.
You sold, but you did sell it.
We did sell it. We did sell it. Absolutely. So
Oh my God, you're
it
so
was
dangerous.
one sale. I
You're-
had one customer.
I'm Rambo.
Steve
I'm
Jobs.
Rambo, and you're that other creature in the jungle. What was the predator? You're the predator. I'm Rambo.
Yeah. So sales is important. If you can't
Yeah.
convince someone to pay their hard-earned cash for the value that your service is, there's
Yeah.
no business there. There's
How
no business.
important is the ability for the idea, whatever the idea is, mowing lawns or popsicles, or to scale?
Not-
And for somebody to
not
go
ev-
in,
not-
go in understanding, like, do you see scale as an option or it's a mandatory?
It depends what you're going for. So as I started out saying, you have to do what's important for you. Like maybe I'm a model train guy and I love model trains. I can start a model train business or whatever it is and be happy. Is my goal to dominate the world? No, I just want to sit with my trains, make enough money to be profitable and sustain myself, and I'm happy. I think that's a perfectly good business.
Yeah.
For me, right?
Yeah.
For some people. Some people, the things they're talking about, if you really want to change the world, and when I start a business now, I used to say, what can one person do to change anything? The big difference between me now and me at 35 was I'm like, of course I can impact 1 billion users. If I'm not trying to impact 1 billion users, what am I even doing? I'm wasting my time, right? So those are two completely different mindsets. I think both are valuable.
Well, one's selfish, and one is unselfish. Which one do you think? Which of those do you think?
They're not.
You
They're
don't think?
They're both selfish. And I believe.
Oh, interesting.
I believe everyone should be selfish.
Interesting.
Selfish for themselves. You are here. It's your life.
Yeah.
You want to make the most of your life. No one can tell you what you should do and what the
Yeah.
values are for your life.
But how-
if I want to impact 1 billion people, maybe it's not for the money, not because it's for something. Maybe it's for good. Maybe it's I want to be
like if you want to
important.
affect that many people, though, it seems unselfish to me.
Not necessarily. I mean,
Okay,
it's selfish. I always feel I have a selfish view.
Yeah.
You have to listen to your
I love
needs
that.
first.
I love that.
And so, yeah, you can be unselfish, meaning, of course, you want to make the world better in everything you do, but you should only do it if that's true to yourself. And that's selfish, in my view.
If you're taking a business, if your goal is to take a business public at some point, how important is scaling and finance?
Essential. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're not designing the business to scale from the get-go, you're not going to get there. Not every business can scale. Yeah. Not every business that has the potential to scale will get there. So absolutely, finance and thinking about scale from the get-go is mandatory if you're going to succeed along that goal.
And then the last question, how important, man, I really appreciate your time. This has been a phenomenal, great job.
Thank you.
Right? How important is the people you're hanging with and you're learning and studying?
So that's, for me, that's it. I think entrepreneurship, being your own business, is the best job in the world, right? You need a few things. You need an idea, the right idea at the right time. You need co-founders with the right skills. You need to sell someone to give you that starting money so you can get started. But once you do it, you're working on an idea you're passionate about with people you love, that you've hired, that you want to work with and learn from. And, in a way, you buy a lottery ticket. If you're successful, you can have Steve Jobs, like he did with me, called us up unannounced saying, hey, want to come over to my house tomorrow? I'd like to buy your company, right? It's like, oh my gosh, there's a
Dude,
lottery ticket.
that is
So,
crazy.
but it, so I think entrepreneurship is the best. When you look back, it's almost always about the culture and the people you worked with and the fun you had. Not every business succeeds, but if you're doing something you care about with people you love and want to work with, it's going to be rewarding along the way anyway.